When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish,
the podcast that's young, dumb, and full of love.
Oh, that's so adorable.
Right?
Ish.
Any amount of sincerity comes across as a little bit sarcastic here.
Yeah. Also, what if I'm old, smart, and hate everything? Can I still be on the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can be the counterpoint. I'm not young anymore. I'm just dumb.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality, and I apologize for not challenging your dumbness fast enough for it to be believable now.
That's fine. It's fine. No need. We're going to talk about gay marriage.
Today we're going to talk about gay marriage, which is like marriage, but it's gay.
But it's gayer. So much gayer. Because rainbows shoot out when you get gay married.
Yeah, But first. I'm in Boston, Kyle.
How's Boston treating you?
It's fine. It was hot as fuck a few days ago. This like northeastern heat dome bullshit that they're talking about in the news. And then the Celtics had a parade, which I forgot that they were a team, much less that they won all the things.
Like a basketball parade?
Yeah.
Okay, that's straight pride.
I know, it was. It absolutely was.
This is coming out on Gay Pride. This is our Gay Pride episode.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride. We went through the schedule together.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. How are you?
I'm good. I started a new job this week.
Yeah, you did.
So I'm a working man, back to being a working man.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Congrats.
Yeah. Income. That's ideal. Capitalism. I'm back in it.
Yay. You're pink washing yourself.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah.
Okay, great.
How about you?
No. Okay. How about me? What do you want to know?
Oh, I don't know. How are you doing?
I'm better. Somebody said my voice was sexy last week, which I appreciated, but it was because I was not feeling well at all. And I'm a lot better today, but I still have this cough is lingering, which, it's not preventing me from making out with strangers. So that works out.
Then again, what would?
Right. You can't keep a good man down, Kyle.
Unless he asks for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, enough chat. Here's the news.
Okay.
Shut your mouth hole, it's time for your ear holes. News.
Okay. News the first, Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, there was this bullshit case that came out of a Texas court that said that the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, requiring insurance companies to cover preventative things such as PrEP, violated their Christian beliefs of companies that were forced to pay for Obamacare. And that's been going through the appeals process. But just this last week, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that most insurance providers must continue to cover preventative services, including PrEP.
Yay. Except what's that most doing there? I don't like that conditional word.
Yeah. I mean, there are some stronger examples of religious institutions that have employees that are covered by insurance plans where it's more directly correlated. There's a definite yes, we are making you pay for this and you're religious and that violates it. This was just if a fucking, I don't know, massage parlor wanted to claim a religious exemption for things, that's a big no.
Gotcha. So religious organizations might be allowed to claim an exemption, but not just everyday companies.
Just because you own a small business and think you have a religious belief about something doesn't mean that you can not follow the laws. But that's the asterisk.
Can you imagine if your religion dictated that you didn't want to prevent HIV? Like, what kind of fucked up religion do you have going on? That's like, you really need to question your religion.
Yes, and I totally agree with you. Like, AIDS is horrible. It's not a good look for anybody. So maybe be against it as a decent human.
Yep.
And I think, like, it's wild to me that it doesn't matter if your religion actually believes a thing. If you believe your religion believes a thing, then you get to be a dick bag fuck face asshole. That's the direction we're headed in this country. Like, AIDS is not in the Bible, everyone. It's not there. HIV AIDS is not in the Bible. So, like, your religion says exactly nothing about it.
Right. That's so true. It's just what people think their religion says. That's correct and annoying.
It's dumb. So this made up bullshit you might make up some bullshit about, and now that's like the law. Like, it's fucking stupid, and I hate it. Now I'm mad, Kyle.
Good. Stay mad. It's pride. Get mad, everyone. Yeah.
Lambda Legal, of course, is all like happy. They said, quote, Lambda Legal is relieved after the recent narrow decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit in the case of Braidwood versus Becerra, whatever, that ruled most of the nation's insurance providers must continue to cover PrEP medication and other preventative services. So the part of the religious thing, too, was like, they're like, well, PrEP, like, that's just gays having butt sex. That's why we don't like it. And part of the ruling here is that, like, sure, Jan, and there are other ways to get HIV than just butt sex. And PrEP is good for a whole bunch of different kinds of people who engage in all kinds of different behaviors, most notably a perfectly straight couple where one of them has HIV because of some other reason, like a blood transfusion or because of drug use or whatever. Like, it can prevent the other person from contracting HIV. Isn't that okay? It has nothing to do with anal sex, you assholes.
Yeah, exactly.
I realize now the irony of saying anal sex and assholes in the same sentence, Kyle.
I loved it. It was a beautiful, our linguistical achievements cannot be understated.
I agree.
Overstated.
We're like a work of arse. Okay. News the second?
Yeah.
Okay, great. News the second. Happy Pride to everybody in Namibia. So Namibia's High Court, the Supreme Court of Namibia, found that 2 colonial-era anti-sodomy laws prejudicially targeted gay men and were unconstitutional. It's a historic ruling. African countries are pretty fucking terrible for Namibia in general, and we definitely have, like, white people ruining things to blame for that. But Friedel Laurentius Dausub filed the case in June of 2022. He's an LGBTQ plus activist, and argued there that, quote, these laws unfairly and irrationally discriminate against him and other gay men on the basis of sex and sexual orientation, and thus infringe on his constitutional right to equality, dignity, privacy, freedom of expression, and freedom of association. And the 3-judge panel agreed. They said, quote, the enforcement of the private moral views of a section of the community, even if they form the majority of that community, which are based to a large extent on nothing more than prejudice, poses a greater threat to the fabric of society as a whole than tolerance.
Yeah, a lot of times, like, that's the entire point of the courts, is to help protect those that are not in the majority. Good for them.
Yep. Yeah, which I think is encouraging, right? Because Africa is, again, not a great continent for gay people for the most part. Other African countries like Angola, Botswana, Lesotho, Mauritius, Mozambique, Seychelles, and South Africa have all decriminalized same-sex sexual relations, but everywhere else is bad. And places like Uganda even have, like, the death penalty. So, any whomsels, I do think it's important for us to realize just how quickly things could go south if we lose a judiciary that can, like, think with their brains.
Are you like thinking about how that could impact this country if we have people on the bench that suck and don't think about religion first? Yeah,
absolutely. Like, this whole thing about, like, it doesn't matter what everybody thinks. It doesn't matter what your fucking religion believes. It's the law that we need to worry about. And we live we have a secular society in this country. So you don't have to like it, but it is the law that seems to be lost to like at least half the country. And it's upsetting.
Yeah, totally. Ooh, happy Pride again.
Happy Pride again. Great. I'm bringing this up, Kyle. Do you want to know how I'm bringing this up?
Yeah.
Great news. The third, the Advocate magazine's Advocate of the Year has been named, and it is Cyndi Lauper.
No way.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She was asked about her longstanding relationship with the queer community, and she said, quote, "Hun, I'm a family member." She co-founded True Colors United in 2008 with Lisa Barberis, Johnny Podell, and Gregory Lewis. She dedicated her soulful ballad True Colors, for which the foundation is named, in honor of a dear friend who died of HIV-related complications. She is a advocate for, or has been an advocate her entire career, which has been now 40 years. It's documented in the new film Let the Canary Sing, which is on Paramount Plus if you want to watch it. And I think it's really interesting, too, that she started a fund called Girls Just Want to Have Fundamental Rights.
Good one, Cyndi.
Working on reproductive rights issues. Also, I didn't know this. She's got 2 Grammys, an Emmy, and a Tony. So all she needs is an Oscar now, and she will EGOT.
She needs an acclaimed acting role.
Yeah, or a Best Original Song, maybe.
Oh, there you go.
She's 70 and kicking ass, which is fantastic. She was the first ever Lifetime Ally Icon Award winner at WeHo Pride.
I didn't know she was some kind of gay.
This year, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't find anything in this article anyway that said whether she was some kind of gay or not.
You say at the beginning she was like, "I'm family."
That's what she said.
Yeah, yeah. So she's something.
Or she doesn't know what that means.
Or she's either gay or ignorant. And everyone in this world.
But yeah, Cyndi Lauper has always had that like sort of, you don't know what it is, but she's some kind of queer. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And congratulations, Cyndi, for being such an awesome advocate for us for the last 40 years. And the Advocate recognizes that. And so you're the big winner this year.
Yay. Should we have
that's the news? Oh,
that's the news. Should we have like what's the opposite of douchebag, fuckface, asshole? Like, should we have an opposite winner?
It's dickbag, fuckface, asshole. And what is the opposite of that? What's the opposite of a dick? I suppose it's a vagina or a pussy.
Mm-hmm.
What's the opposite of a bag?
A hole.
A hole?
Yeah. A bag carries stuff. A hole is where stuff falls through.
Yeah.
This is not going in a good place so far.
No. Pussy hole, prude butt, mouth or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So the answer is no. We're not going to have.
We're not going to. Well, we could have an award for like goodness in the world, which I think is better. Spotlighting dickbag, fuckface, assholes is fun, but like also maybe not the hope and everything that we need in the world right now, Kyle.
But is our podcast about injecting hope into the world? What is our podcast about? Wow, I didn't mean to get existential. This is just the part where I say Patreon names.
Inject beef, not hope, Kyle. I think that should be. We need a bumper sticker that says that.
New merch coming soon. I want to thank the following new Patreon member. Thank you to Ivan Delgado for supporting us. If you want ad-free episodes a day early, if you want to use Mike's hole, which yes is the same as the 100 words benefit. If you want bonus episodes and content, go to patreon.com/gayish podcast.
Do it.
Do you want to talk about gay marriage?
Let's talk about gay marriage, Kyle.
Okay.
Okay, I've been gay married. Have you been gay married?
I've never been gay married.
Do you want to be gay married?
I want to be gay married someday. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Why do you sound surprised by that?
I don't know. I'm the lesbian. It sounds like it's something that maybe you'd just like not be as into like institutionally or something.
Oh, no, I really want to get married someday. I love love. and being in love. I'm now just quoting the lyrics from that song. But yeah, I someday want to get gay married, and I'm frustrated that it has been this long into my adult life that I've not been in a relationship that I thought I was going to get married to my last boyfriend. That didn't work out. But I'm sad that I'm not in a relationship that's like headed that direction yet.
Well, you're just waiting for the right one, Kyle.
I know. What if he doesn't exist, though?
Well, then you'll just have to compromise and settle.
That's true, Mike. No, I think part of wanting to be married and be in love when you're not is learning how to enjoy life on your own, because like you don't want to have to depend on a relationship to make you happy. So I'm trying to build a life that I will enjoy. I think I will enjoy it more if I have someone else in it, but I'm trying to build a life that I want to live, even if I remain single.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Or depressing, one of the two.
I mean, it can be both, right?
It can be both. Yeah, very true. Do you want to get gay married again?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I like it. It's fun. Do it early and often. That's what I always say. No, I think I've said this before. Like I worry about the messaging a little bit, but like I do think that sometimes relationships that wouldn't otherwise survive will survive when there is a commitment other than like just hanging out. And whatever form that takes, I do think that there's a like, I don't know, utility in being like stuck with each other for at least as long as it takes to get divorced.
Mike, that's so romantic.
I know it's so romantic, but like seriously, like there are lots of, especially these days in like with like ghosting and quiet quitting and I don't know, all of the other bullshit millennial Gen Z words for giving up. There are like people do have a tendency to just like walk away from shit. And I think having a next level is important. Now there are people who get trapped in marriages that absolutely should not be still married, and that's not great either. But I think that there is a medium ground there of like, maybe it's okay to not like each other for a little bit, but like still be kind of stuck together long enough to maybe give it a chance to like heal and find your way back to love. And I think I like that. I think there's something about that really works.
Yeah, I think it's this weird duality of it's both a preposterous idea that you could pick someone to be like, oh, like forever through every season of our life, we're going to continue to be in love and be into each other. Because like, you don't know who you're going to become in the next 10 years, let alone the rest of your life. So it's like this weird idea, but I still enjoy that idea, that commitment, and the idea that you care about someone so much that you're like, no matter how I evolve or change, and even through times where we might not like each other or things are hard, that we're still going to, that our love is going to persevere, that we're still going to stay together in spite of that and come out the other end. I agree.
Yeah. Well, I am going to talk to you about the history of gay marriage, Kyle.
Before you do, the reason we're doing this is because it's the 9th anniversary of the Schmergerfeld ruling that legalized same gender marriage, I think is what we should be calling it instead of same sex marriage.
Yeah, that's probably true. But
anyway, it's the 9th year anniversary, June 26th.
Yeah, which I don't know. Not all of our listeners are Americans, but in the United States anyway, marriage without regard to the gender of the participants is legal in all 50 states because of a Supreme Court ruling that happened in 2015 called Obergefell v. Hodges. So for 9 years now, conservatives have been really mad and trying to undo it. So
yeah, and the world has slowly rolled into a pile of shit as a result, just like conservatives expected.
Yep. Although it's a pile of shit of their own making, largely. Like,
that's true.
You know, like Jerry Falwell and all those dickbag fuckface assholes that were like, God's going to punish us with hurricanes and earthquakes or whatever. Like, I mean, sure, we've had hurricanes and earthquakes, but it's not because of gay marriage. We don't have that kind of power.
Yep.
Okay, the history of gay marriage, Kyle. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I don't remember if I've talked about this on the show before. We've got like goddamn near 400 episodes, and who fucking knows what we haven't talked about at this point.
Yeah, too hard to keep track.
So gay marriage, there's sort of like 3 ways to think about it. There's just like whatever the highest form of commitment is between 2 people in a given society, in a given cultural context, that looks like marriage. It's that like that porn rule about like, you know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who have been visibly, clearly committed, clearly like in a couple that looks functionally in all ways the same as a marriage. So this like cultural marriage kind of a thing. Then there's religious marriage, right? Like an actual, like a person who is a clergy of some kind, probably wearing a funny robe and or hat, like stands up in front of everybody with 2 people and is like, great, God is down with you 2 officially now as a couple. Religious marriage. And then there's the legal institution of marriage, right? Like that they're, especially in modern societies, tend to have like tax implications, legal rights associated with marriages that like in some legal way elevates this relationship officially to a new level. Things like passing on wealth if one of you dies, and like children who have custody of children if one of you passes away, the ability to visit each other in hospital rooms, that kind of stuff. But like the legal institution of marriage, whether the religious institution exists or not. But the first thing I want to talk about is the cultural appears to be the oldest. Like there are examples of like cave drawings with like what look to be same gender people together in context that makes it look like they're like married or being treated as if they are married. And there's even things like in Egypt, there are people like those hairdressers to that one emperor who are like buried together in a way that implies that they were married to each other, even though they were both dudes.
Hairdressers. That makes sense that they were gay.
Yeah. Khnum Hotep and Nyankhnum. But they were 2 male royal servants. They shared the title of overseer of the manicurists. They're believed to be the first
stereotypical.
Right. The first recorded same-sex couple in ancient history, according to some people. But now there are people who say, well, they clearly also had wives and children, or they were brothers, which that's a thing that's going to come back later, Kyle. Brothers.
I'm nervous about brothers coming back in the context of gay marriage, but okay.
I know, as you should.
Okay.
Anyway, so they were hairdressers and manicurists or whatever. But that's the cultural sense. But then the religious sense, there's actually evidence to suggest that there are societies that had religious solemnation of same gender, what looks like marriages. So in ancient Mesopotamia, there were priests and priestesses of the goddess Inanna, or Ishtar, and they were often bi or trans. And the goddess that they worshipped was able to turn men into women and women into men through this transformation power. And her father god Enki created a third gender that was neither male nor female, who became the goddess's servants. But yeah, so they had non-binary, but they also had gay marriage. So they had same-sex relationships, and it's clearly seen in the document called the Almanac of Incantations, which was sort of like their Bible or their like ritual book. And it had ceremonies written out, and the marriage ceremonies are written 3 times for both opposite and same gender couples. Oh. So there's the straight wedding, there's the gay wedding, there's the lesbian wedding, all written out in this book.
All variations ready to go. That's adorable.
Yeah. Yeah. So a man who had sex with a man of his own social status was thought to bring good fortune and prosperity. But trouble would happen if you had a same-sex relationship with somebody above or below your station. But the same was believed true of opposite sex relationships also. Like you were supposed to marry within your caste.
That's weird that the judgment that would be applied is not about the same gender of the person, but like whether, what kind of station in life you're at. That's really interesting, kind of different form of almost discrimination that people saw.
For real. Absolutely. So let's see. Then, there were other societies that seemed to have sort of more or less permissiveness toward same-sex couples, but this goes back to that like cultural bucket of like it was cool to be like look like you're married, but I couldn't find any like early examples like the Mesopotamians that had like clear religious like ceremony around it until later in history. Now we have to talk about Emperor Nero, the Roman emperor, who got gay married not only once, but twice.
Oh.
Yeah. So he wed a dude named Pythagoras in a formal same-sex wedding by first putting on a bridal veil that made Emperor Nero was the bride and Pythagoras was the groom. And at the time, weddings had a bunch of symbols present. There was a dowry, there was a marriage bed, there were torches and witnesses, and all of that was present. This was a full-on like wedding, but Nero played the bride here. And Tacitus, who was a Roman historian, and he's the one that wrote all of this down so that we have it recorded, said that apparently, well, he didn't explicitly state it, but like implies that Nero and this Pythagoras dude fucked in front of everybody.
What?
Yeah.
That's awkward or fun, I guess, depending on how you see it.
Quote, everything was public, which even in a natural union is veiled by night, is what he said. So, like, and then this one is super messed up. But the second time he got gay married, in AD 67, Emperor Nero ordered Sporus, who was a free man in the empire, to be castrated and then married to him.
Wow.
He was on the cusp between boy and man, apparently. And they castrated him and they put him bride's dress on him. And then this time Nero was the groom, and they had public ceremonies that were apparently celebrated in both Greece and Rome. Like the whole empire, like had they knew it was like the emperor's marrying this dude day. And it was, they, after that, lived together as husband and wife with big old quotes around husband and wife. And but Nero was also a super bad dude and sort of did what he wanted. And that doesn't mean that it was necessarily like legal for other people, you know?
Yeah.
I also read somewhere that 13 out of the first 14 emperors of the Roman Empire were either bisexual or openly homosexual, and several of them had similar like public ceremonies around their same gender love paramour.
Wow, that's a pretty high percentage of gays.
That's a high percentage of gays, yeah. Okay, so that's Emperor Nero, but now we got to talk about this weird institution that pops up in Christianity. So there is this ceremony that appears in the early history of the Christian church, like 2nd or 3rd century, up until the 14th century in the Catholic Church, and then up until the early 1900s in the Eastern Orthodox Church. But it's called adelphopoiesis. And adelphopoiesis from Greek literally means to make a brother. And it's a ceremony where two people of the same sex are united together in a church recognized relationship. Now, it depends on who you ask whether this was like same-sex marriage or something else. But these relationships, according to Pavel Florensky, who is a Russian scholar, in 1914, he wrote a book, The Pillar and the Ground of the Truth, an essay in Orthodox theodicy in 12 letters. And he contends that these were full-fledged, like marriage-like relationships, that there was not just like respect kind of love or love like you love a family member, but also sensuous, passionate love, aka butt sex. And it's really interesting because there are a lot of folks like Yale historian John Boswell. We've talked about him a lot on the show over the years. He wrote Same-Sex Unions in Pre-Modern Europe, and he believes that this was full on homosexual marriage, and that that's how it should be interpreted.
Religious gay marriage.
Religious gay marriage, Christian religious gay marriage for like 1,000 years before they decided, nope, we don't want that no more.
That's wild.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is there are people who want to say that this was just like two real good buddies being recognized as two real good buddies by the church. But
they were just friends.
They were just friends that shared a house and all of their money and had their hands tied together in the ceremony. And like, but they also say that, that it wasn't that big of a deal, at the same time that they ignore the fact that when they were trying to get this institution banned in the church, it was because of all of the sodomy. Like, you can't have it both ways, right?
Right.
Anyway, yeah, it's wild to me that this whole thing it existed. There's an example of a couple of saints that were recognized as having gone through this. Saint Sergius and Saint Bacchus, they were 4th century Christian martyrs. They were united this way, and it's just wild to me.
Yeah, that's insane. That I feel like so many people, including us, just like don't know their history, and so think that everything is new or how it currently is how it always has been. And it's an interesting way to view that, like, Christianity has not always been opposed to same-sex people, even if you believe that that's what God said, or whatever.
Yep, bring back traditional Christian marriage, Kyle.
Yeah.
Let the dudes get married.
Let gays get married.
So in the Catholic Church, it's the 14th century that they're like, nah, we're going to stop this. It's too much butt sex. And the Orthodox Church stops it in the early 1900s. But in lots of places, including the United States, there are still examples of, with no religious backing, no legal backing, there are still people who take that cultural thing and take it a step further and call themselves married, even though they can't be married.
Right.
And one example that jumps out that's super interesting as far as like legal status is concerned, there was a murder trial in 1923 in Chicago, and the judge ruled that this dude, because he and this other dude called themselves husband and wife, that was admissible in court. And he said, quote, the fact that Thompson, that was the dude that was the wife in this relationship, quote, the fact that Thompson was a man did not affect his status as a wife insofar as interpretation of the law is concerned. And that meant that he wasn't allowed to testify on his own behalf, because under the law at the time, wives couldn't testify on behalf of their husbands.
Ooh.
So it's like, you're going to call yourself a wife? Fine. You can't be a witness in your husband's trial.
Huh. Are the courts allowed to interpret someone as a wife just because they say it? That seems weird.
This judge did.
I guess it did. Yeah.
Yeah. So the modern gay marriage movement really gets rolling in the United States, like in the 50s and 60s, at a slow pace. HIV/AIDS really sets us back, the whole gay rights movement back, because of public fear and stigma surrounding that whole thing. By the time the 90s roll around, we're really starting to see it reappear as a serious conversation in this country. And all of that leads to several states, including Washington State, our home state, going and legalizing gay marriage before it all works its way through the federal court system and becomes the law of the land in 2015.
Yeah.
That's the history. I talked a whole bunch.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of, I like the way you broke down the 3 different types of marriage, because it's a reminder that everyone thinks marriage is just one thing, but there's more to it, including the cultural aspects of it that I think a lot of people forget about, like a commitment between 2 people that is greater than just, a casual relationship. But
yeah, well, and I remember pretty clearly when we were starting to have serious conversations in the gay community about gay marriage before the Obergefell ruling, there were lots of people who were sort of against the idea of legalizing gay marriage. And their idea was that like the cultural one is the only one that matters. I don't want a religious recognition of my marriage. I don't want legal recognition of my marriage. The only thing that matters is that like this person is my person and we're going to behave like a married couple. So I think it's interesting.
I also think there are other people that were against like gay people that were against gay marriage. And it was because it felt like it was a heteronormative kind of system that we were just trying to fit ourselves into, rather than have our own, like establish what our own relationship type can be. And I think that's also an interesting, like the dissent within the gay community. I think a vast majority of people, I don't have the data on this, but presumably a vast majority of people would want, legal equality, but some people didn't want that and felt like we were just kind of buying into the straight people's world.
Well, and if I could go back in time and punch those people in the face, that's fine. It's not for you to decide, right?
Right.
Like, if you don't want to be gay married, don't be gay married. But maybe support your fellow gays that do want to, because it just should be legal.
Yeah. I want the option. I want everyone to have the option whether or not I want to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm going to tell you about some Gayda.
Yeah. I like Gayda.
We have two things to talk about. One is the amount of people that are gay married, and then another is the support of gay marriage as an institution. Mm-hmm. So first, let's talk about how many people are actually gay married. So marriage equality is legal in 36 countries, according to the Pew Research Center. Oh, I was waiting for you to... Okay.
I knew what you wanted and I didn't give it to you.
Wow. I'm so withholding. In 2023, their research says that in places where same-sex marriage, in countries where same-sex marriage is legal, they make up no more than 3.4% of all marriages.
Okay.
So,
okay.
What?
Like should it be more? Like if
I would expect it to be way more.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all marriages, though?
Yeah.
Okay. Explain yourself, Kyle.
If, let's say, there are 10 to 15% of people are gay, then I would expect that we wouldn't be quite there yet, but I would think there'd be this big backlog of gay people that once it became legal that would get married, and they've had 9 years to do that. I would think the number would be closer to that 10 to 15%.
Okay.
But I mean, Avi, I'm wrong, because that's not how it works out. So
yeah. Also, I think like even the highest estimates come in under 10%, don't they?
Yeah. The highest one that is that 3.4. So Spain has the highest percentage of gay marriages, and that is the 3.4%. According to the Census Bureau, the U.S. Census Bureau in 2022, U.S. states, their proportion of households that have gay marriage range from 0.42 to 1.81%. So even in the states, the highest percentage, depending on the state you look at, is going to be 1.81.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Washington, our home state, is on the higher side with 1.36. The one with the highest, that 1.81%, is Vermont. And if
is that just about like how long it's been legal? Because like, I don't know, Vermont and Massachusetts were super early, I think, on the game.
That would make sense. That would make sense to me. I think that's a good theory. If DC were a state, it would have the highest at 3.6%.
God, DC's so gay.
DC's so gay. See future episode about DC. This is foreshadowing, Mike.
Yeah, join us next week, everybody.
Yep. And in 2021, there are 1.2 same-gender couple households, and about 59% of those households are married.
Okay. That seems high, but okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You'd expect more people living in sin? I
mean, I know more people living in sin. Like, gay couples living together that I know. I mean, obviously, I'm not a math, science, social guy, dude, but like it seems like it's a lot less than half.
Yeah. Yeah. More than half are married. 41% then are unmarried.
Okay. You sinners.
Yeah. Love it. Living in sin is the new thing, like Britney Spears said. This is just a fun little tidbit that's depressing. Even though the percentage of same gender households where both partners are employed was the same for female and female versus male to male, the female and female household income was lower than the male household income, which makes sense. On average, the female and female households made around $92,000 versus for men it was $117,000. So
Jesus. Okay.
that's one of the downsides of being a lesbian is there's income disparity among women.
Yeah.
So you get paid less.
Equal pay for equal work, everybody.
Yeah. Gay people also make less on average, which we learned in a recent episode that I forget which one. And if you compare same-sex households to opposite-sex households, a larger share of same-sex households are interracial.
Wow.
So 31, almost 32% of same-sex households are interracial versus 18% for opposite sex.
That's really interesting. What do you think that says? Just that, like, we're less racist?
We're less racist, maybe. I wonder if we have less options. So you have like a smaller pool to work within, so it might be more likely to. I feel like it's easier to date within your race. Just culturally, you're probably raised with a lot of more likely to be raised among people of your own race. So I wonder if it's just we have to date across races because there are fewer of us.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
Okay, that's the actual percentage and amount of people that are married. Now we're going to talk about support of same-sex marriage. Grumble.
Well, okay, so like I'm worried because like the last time I looked into this, the graph of like support was this like meteoric rise in support, and then I'm gonna guess it's flattened out or gone down lately, and I don't want to hear it, but you're gonna tell me.
Oh no, I'm not.
Oh.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you about the meteoric increase. According to Gallup, in 1996, 27% of people thought gay marriage should be legalized. And in 2023, it was 71%. So that is a 44 percentage point increase over 27 years. I didn't look at like how that's looked the last few years, if that's flattened out or straightened out. I could.
I mean, it might not have. It's just a fear that I have. Like, it sure seems like every queer institution is under attack, and I would assume so is marriage, and that's got to like weigh on people. And we have a lot of dum-dums in society that just like say what they think they're supposed to say. And if the tide is changing and support for gay marriage isn't cool anymore or whatever, I don't know.
Now I have to look it up to tell you if it's true. Okay, I'm not quickly finding that data, so I'm going to skip that.
Okay,
that was just the U.S. though. So the Pew Research Center in 2023, fuck you. There is support for same-sex marriage is highest in Sweden, with 92% of adults favoring it.
I mean, ABBA, you know?
ABBA, man.
they just, the country that could produce such joyful music has got to be down with the gay shit.
Soup's down. Yep. Support for same gender marriage is lowest in Nigeria, where only 2% of people support it.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be really hard living there when so few people, like with such a tiny percentage of people actually supporting your legal rights.
White people ruin everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you said it at the top of the episode, and you're right. Data's doesn't line up because it's two different research centers doing this, but according to their research, just for comparison, US is at 79%. So we still have, we've made a lot of progress over the past couple decades, and there is still more to go, though. We're not sitting at the Sweden level of support for gay marriage.
Sure. Yeah. I wonder if I don't know what's going on in Sweden, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't do this, but it'd be interesting to compare, there's like the happiness index by country to show which countries are the happiest. I wonder how that happiness would compare, like how Sweden would rank in terms of like, I don't know if there's any comparison between support for same-sex marriage and overall happiness of a country. I feel like the more liberal and the more equal rights and support for equal rights there, the happier people would be.
According to this, Sweden is 6th happiest country in the world.
That's pretty good. Maybe there's a correlation.
Well, and all of them, not all of them, many of them are Scandinavian countries that are like super, super liberal on gay shit. Like the top 10, Kyle: Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Israel, Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and New Zealand.
Wow.
Like that's every Scandinavian country is in that list. Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, Norway, Finland.
I want to visit New Zealand.
New Zealand, huh?
Yeah, I want to go to Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah. I want to go just so I can see if I can run into Man Can Cook and Zed, because that boy hot. I don't think he plays for our team, but I don't care.
I don't know what you just said.
Yeah. I'll send him to you, Kyle. He's great.
Okay.
You're going to hate him. You're going to hate him.
Why?
Because he's hot and on Instagram. And
okay. I'm already annoyed.
Yeah. Okay, great. Is that it? You good?
Yep.
What are you going to talk about on Patreon? Patreon's your job this time, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the arguments against same-gender marriage.
Oh my God.
If you're one of those 20% that doesn't like gay marriage, then I don't know why you're listening to the show, but then join our Patreon, support us, and we'll tell you why you're right.
Great. Yeah. I don't want that to be why people give us money, but hey.
I'll take anyone's money. Hey,
yeah.
Throw me your money. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done, as long as you love me.
That guy.
Backstreet Boys?
Yeah. Wait, no, that's NSYNC. I don't know what I'm saying. Justin Timberlake, and this is going to ruin the tour. Those memes are the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. I love those.
I want to talk to you about language, Kyle.
Okay.
One
of your favorite things.
My love for language and etymology and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I've talked about all of this before at different parts in the podcast, but everybody gets to hear it again. Do you know the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis?
Yeah, I recognize the name because you've talked about it before, but completely forget what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it's it's not even named correctly, by the way, because Sapir and Whorf never worked together or anything. But the idea is that your brain can only think about things it has words for, or the structure of a language influences its speaker's worldview or cognition and influences your perception of the world. So
yeah, if we don't have a word for a concept, then it's hard to think about that concept or tangibly understand it.
Right. That's right. So if I talk on and on and on about the virtues of Florbendorfs and you have no idea what that is and I can't explain it to you, then you can't.
Yeah.
Anyway, so where I'm going with this is, and people will often also talk about how it's super problematic, but the Inuit Eskimos have 14 words for snow or some shit, and and so they see differences in snow when we would just say it's snow.
Right. Right.
Anyway, there is this problem of gender neutral language in general, gay marriage specifically, being hard to construct in a natural way in certain languages. And it's already kind of hard in English. Fortunately, we have singular they, and marriage is neutral enough that we can use it, but it's just not the case for other languages. And so I keep wondering, is it even possible for people who speak Russian, for instance, to accept the concept of same-sex marriage because the language is so intrinsically gendered?
Yeah. Yeah, if you can't even like use words to talk about, like I would think that language would evolve to catch up with the fact that same gender marriage is a real thing and people get it. I would think language would find ways to adjust.
I mean, I would too, but just look at even in English how vehemently some people are opposed to using singular they to refer to non-binary people. Like even languages that can do it, people still like have a hard time with it. Anyway, so Russian is my big example, just because that was the language that I took in high school, and the Russian word for wife is žena, and the verb to marry is ženat. So, like, to do a literal translation, when you get married, you get wifed, and there is a more neutral term for marriage called brak, but I'm not sure. Maybe Marat or somebody else can like let me know whether that's widespread enough, or maybe I'm all wet when it comes to this stuff. But like, how do two dudes get wifed without either like making a mockery of what it is that they are doing, or without even, or like creating a place where you can't even accept what they're doing because there's no wife there?
Yeah, that seems like people in the US argue about we're changing the definition of marriage, but that seems like perhaps literally changing the definition of what it means to be married.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So romance languages have more or less like ability to do this. Spanish has marido and esposa. Does that ring a bell to you?
Yeah, I mean, esposo or esposa, yeah.
Casarse is to marry, and that's neutral. But esposo y esposa is man and wife, husband and wife, which that seems like you could just say esposo y esposo.
Yeah, esposos. We're husbands.
Esposos or esposas? Yeah. That's adorable.
Esposas. Yeah. I assume, I don't know how like accepted those kinds of words are. I just know you can form the words verbally.
Yeah. And you're probably right. Like, Spanish just seems to work like that. So
Spanish, because the language is so gendered, like every noun has a gender. I would imagine it's hard to talk about non-gender or non-binary people, just because that's such a fundamental part of the language and a lot of languages.
Yeah. Well, and I know from talking to my Spanish or Argentinian coworkers when I'm down in Buenos Aires for work that like there's some controversy over like gender neutral constructions of pronouns, especially, but words in general. Because I mean, it's a gross oversimplification, but if it ends in O, it's masculine. If it ends in an A, it's feminine. And if it ends in an E, I guess it's gender neutral. But there aren't a lot of examples of that in Spanish to like make it sound natural.
Yeah.
It's even worse in French because French people love their language and they hate changes to their language. And they also have the same sort of like issue of gendered words. It's not limited to European languages though. So like in Japanese, they do have a gender neutral verb, kakonsuru, meaning to marry, and that is neutral, but there's husband and wife. And I'm realizing now that all of these languages though have husband and wife. And what is the term for a non-binary married person, even in English? Spouse?
Yeah. That's the good one.
But you can't
partner is too generic. So
they are a spouse.
I now pronounce you spouses. Yeah.
Sure. Like for the ceremony, I get that. But I mean like I guess their spouse. You could say that's their spouse, or they are her spouse, or they are their spouse. They are his spouse. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I used nibblings at work the other day. And then got an opportunity to explain like that's the non-gendered form for nieces and nephews.
Yeah, that's a good one. I hope that catches on more because I don't think a lot of people know about it yet.
African languages, Swahili has two verbs for to marry, but one is what the man does and the other is what the woman does. So that's maybe hard to fix. anyway, what I really want to get out of this conversation, Kyle, is just that like we have it bad enough in English, but English is a super flexible language, and I really wonder how much of this angst and friction around same-sex marriage, same-gender marriage, and pronoun stuff for like non-binary people and language about trans people is just even more difficult than we have it in English in their language, and how much of a headwind that's going to be to like global acceptance of LGBT people. I wonder how they do it in Sweden.
Yeah. What it seems to be working. Whatever language they're using to describe it seems to be working. The more you talk about it, the more ridiculous it's reminding me how ridiculous arguments using language as a reason not to support LGBT issues is. Like, it's so dumb when if you think that there can't be non-binary people because you don't like the word they, like singular they. They're incorrect. They're factually incorrect because it's been used as singular for a long, long time. So, but even if they were correct, that doesn't matter. Language can evolve, and your support of something should not depend on whether language can describe it. Language helps describe the world. The world is not prescribed by language. So,
yeah. And prescriptivists love to say like the language has rules and you cannot break them. And I mean, they're the people that say like you can't end a sentence with a preposition. Well, fucking watch me, asshole.
Asshole of.
Yeah. That's who was it? Was it Winston Churchill that said to Lady Chatterley, I think? That is a sort of pedantry up with which I shall not put. I might have misquoted that, but it's
I like it.
Yeah. But like it is true, right? Like we're taught as kids that language has rules and that you can't break them, and a lot of that is just to like teach kids how to not be dum-dums. But we need to take that next step of ... and language is flexible, right. And language has exceptions for almost every rule, unless it's a constructed language like fucking Klingon. Like, and I don't know. Like, I struggle with it because, like, writing a book with you, there's copy editing that happens. There is a right way and a wrong way, supposedly, to construct every single sentence of that book. And is there? Like, who decides? And
we definitely did some things that violated whatever is in whichever text they're using to judge our grammar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they hate us, but
I hope so.
Yes, I totally agree with you that like people who are like, but the language need to get over themselves. Fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off for sure. Should I tell you about my Ask Reddit segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm excited. This is a really interesting topic that I did not know of until I read this, and we have no business talking about it. So here we go.
Excellent. Gayish.
This was posted to the subreddit Serious Conversations
by
user MindK2014.
What percentage of our / serious conversations are actually serious conversations?
I wonder how like intense the moderators are, and if they like ban non-serious conversation. Some subreddits are like really heavily moderated. Mm-hmm. This post, the question was,
talk
according to
pedantic people.
Yeah, they make good mods. According to statistics, why are married lesbian couples much more likely to divorce than married gay men? And they, in their comments, said that, or in the description, they said, according to the Office of National Statistics, in 2019, 56% of same-sex marriages were between women. However, the divorce rates for lesbians was much higher, with 72% of same-sex divorces in 2019 coming from lesbian couples. So out of 100% of divorces, 72% of those divorces are between lesbians, which is about 3 times higher than gay male couples.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So not proud of it. Super problematic. I absolutely know that. And there's a knee-jerk part of me that immediately thinks that I'm not proud of, that immediately thinks it's because dudes are more forgiving of each other's infidelities because that's what it's like owning a dick.
Oh, interesting. So women would be less likely to forgive like infidelity were divorced.
Yep. That's just a theory, but that's the thing that my brain immediately thinks.
I wonder how the like rate of open relationships compares for gay men versus lesbians.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would fall hand in hand with that theory is like, I wonder if we're more likely to be married and be in an open relationship where it's not cheating, you know, like sleeping with other people is acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. I presume. But maybe that's not fair for me to guess that.
Yeah.
But
we'll have to do another episode on lesbian marriage.
Yeah.
One person says this to harken back to an episode that we did recently. Just a theory as a lesbian myself. You know the old joke about lesbians bringing a U-Haul to the second date? Yeah. A lot of lesbians move way too fast emotionally / commitment wise. Before figuring out I was aro, I remember getting hit with "I'm in love with you" in under a week of meeting more than once. This is way too fast, IMO, and could explain the stats of lesbians sometimes jumping into marriage way too quickly before really exploring compatibility.
Interesting.
And Chris and Shayna seemed to indicate that this was a real thing, that the stereotype had some truth to it, that this does happen, that lesbians do move quickly.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's part of it.
You know, it's interesting because the L word, love, not lesbian.
Oh,
it feels like there's a weird binary thing that I don't understand of like, you've got to reach some level that's inscrutable, impossible to calculate, but you can't call it love until you're past that, or at the very least that you're sure you're past it on some like felt sense level. And I think that is really unfortunate and emotionally stunted in a couple of ways, because you can have super powerful positive feelings for a person that you might even internally think, oh, I think this might be love. But then if you're preventing yourself from saying it because you don't think that you've gotten to a justifiable level to call it that, then you like, it encourages us to not share our feelings. Like maybe don't label it love, but you should, I think, be able to say, hey, I'm feeling really strongly about you or us or this thing more than I ever have before. And it is exhilarating or scary or cool or like whatever. Instead, I think that especially for dudes, we're sort of acculturated to just like not say anything at all because you don't want to scare them off or sound dumb or be wrong or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to the whatever Worf schmaradery theory that you were just talking about, where we don't have a term for like pre-love, or I feel those fluttery feelings, but it might not be love yet, but it's almost there. I wonder if we had a word for that would help us be able to communicate strong feelings that are approaching love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if we had a term for friendship love, then maybe people would be more likely to say it because then it didn't have like weird romantic implications.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Greeks had more words for love, which I think is great. Eros for erotic love and agape for like virtuous love. And like they have different kinds of love, which I think is pretty cool. But I'm with you. Yeah. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis precludes us from talking about it because we don't have good words for it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Bringing it all together, Mike.
Someone else
in the comments said in heterosexual marriages, women initiate, well, they misspelled it, but initiate 70% of all divorces. The key citing factor being that women report higher rates of unsatisfaction compared to their male counterparts. I wonder if the same dynamics would apply to gay and lesbian marriages.
Interesting.
So women, at least in straight marriages, are more likely to cite dissatisfaction. So when you get two women together, then I wonder if that plays a role in they're more likely to be dissatisfied.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, I talk about this in therapy all the time. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show or not, but you know this on a CB radio, the squelch, you know what I'm talking about?
Mentioned this before.
I have. Okay, great.
So, yeah.
Well, on the show or just like because we talk about stuff all the time?
I think on the show.
Okay.
But say it again in case people have not memorized all of our episodes.
The squelch knob on a CB radio is how much signal to noise ratio does there need to be before you let something through? So if you turn the squelch all the way down, you're just going to get static, nonstop static. It's going to be always on. And if you turn the squelch up to the right place, it's silent until somebody is on the microphone talking to you, and then their voice comes through. And if you turn the squelch too high, you basically, nobody can break through the squelch. Like, you never hear anything unless they're like right next to your radio with their radio talking. Like, and then that's enough signal to make it through. And I do think that our emotional squelch, like how strong does a feeling have to be before you register it or then do something about it? Men are taught or acculturated to have a really high squelch of like, I've got to be really mad before I'm allowed to be mad. And because anger is such a powerful emotion, for some men, anger is the only emotion they ever have.
Right.
Or like, I've got to be really sad before I cry. Like, men have this really high squelch. And so I emotional squelch. So I wonder if, I think that's what this person is talking about, right? That like women have a lower squelch. They're allowed to say that they're upset or happy, or like they're allowed to have a wider range of emotions and express them.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if men just don't. And so like there's this default of like everything's fine until it's not. And so they stay together even if they shouldn't. That's not great. That makes me feel bad. Because it's basically saying that like gay dudes should be divorced, but they're not doing it because they don't talk about their feelings. I don't know, Kyle.
Huh. So maybe their dissatisfaction registers even at a lower level, and they might be more likely to get a divorce as a result of those feelings, when gay men might just bottle it up.
Yeah. But like some bottling is good maybe too. I don't know. Like if every little time that I was slightly annoyed, I like immediately said it, I don't know if I would have any friends, much less a boyfriend.
Yeah. How does it reach that threshold to where you actually have a conversation about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was there are a couple other comments, but there are a bunch of other comments, but that was just an interesting concept about marriage that, I guess we can do a separate episode about divorce if we haven't already. But
yeah, we did. I was real sad.
Oh, okay, great. That makes sense to me. But that was all for the Ask Reddit segment that I was interested in.
Okay. Well, thanks.
No problem.
So on the Patreon segment, we're going to talk about arguments against gay marriage. So I'll probably yell at Kyle. If you want to hear that, you have to get it on Patreon.
That'll be fun. It's from the Family Research Council, which is...
Fuck those motherfuckers, Kyle. I'm already pissed off.
Great. I can't wait for this segment.
Great. Did we do it? Is there more to talk about? We talked about gay marriage a whole bunch.
Yeah. Are you going to get you're going to get gay married again?
I mean, eventually I would like to.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. I guess we talked about it.
Okay. What should we take a break and then you can talk me out of it?
Yeah. I'll tell you all the reasons you shouldn't get gay married. Yeah. Let's take a break.
All right, let's take a break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest. But first, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We are on social media at Gayish Podcast, or you can find our communities like our Discord at gayishpodcast.com/contact.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
Our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109. Yeah.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride, everyone. You know what I want for Pride, Kyle?
What do you want?
I want everybody to do the 4 R's. Rate, review, subscribe, and recommend. It very, very much helps us. And if you don't do it, because it's June, it's a hate crime. So get on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it really does help us out as a podcast, and it helps support independent gay creators like us.
That sounded like something on NPR, Kyle. Good job.
Oh, I should have had a more monotone style voice when I said it. Do you want to do our Gayest and Straightest?
Let's do our Gayest and Straightest. I'm happy to go first.
Okay.
Okay. So the straightest thing about me this week is being a game show host, sort of. I've been going to all of these places. That's why I've not been in my own bed for 22 days in a row. And, but we play Family Feud at all of these offices, and I'm the host of the thing. And inevitably, there's a question about sports, and I have to pretend I give a fuck. Like in Boston this week, which is where I still am, it was about the Celtics, and I forgot that they had a team, much less that they won all the things and there was going to be a parade. And so when it came up on Family Feud, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, basketball, right? Yay.
I had no idea about any of that either. So
Larry Bird? Anyway. And then the gayest thing about me this week, Kyle, oh my God, I started crying at work because after the event on Thursday, this man came up to me and he said, hey, how's it going? I just wanted to thank you for the LGBT talk that you gave here 2 years ago because my kid came out as trans and I would not have known what to do if it wasn't for the fact that you had talked to us and had given us all of these resources on being a good ally. And just thank you so much for helping me be a better dad. I was like, oh my God, it's fucking, it was a lot.
You're making a difference, Mike. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I punched him in the dick.
Yeah. Too sincere, sir.
How about you, Kyle?
What about me? My straightest is having a job.
Yeah.
I feel like having a job is fulfilling my traditional manly duty of having a job and making income. Back at it, back in the grind, back into capitalism. My gayest.
Welcome back, Kyle.
Thanks. I'm excited and I hate it. My gayest is that I work in property management, which I found out from Derek, our producer, that's pretty gay. Apparently, a lot of gays work in property management. So,
yep. True story.
Yeah.
Can confirm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's my gayest. We have a listener's gayest and straightest.
We have a listener's gayest and straightest this week. It comes to us on voicemail, which is our favorite kind. You can leave yours, 5855-GAYISH. But it's from Sean in Minneapolis.
Hey guys, this is Sean from Minneapolis, longtime patron. Love your show. Literally listening to an episode tonight, and when you did your gayest and straightest, I'm like, I never have one, and I literally came up with one from tonight. So my gayest, I just came out this year, so I just hung a pride flag in my window. Straightest, I hung it crooked, and I'm not changing it because I'm too lazy. Anyway, have a great night and live long and prosper.
Sean, I didn't hear anything that you said except the Star Trek reference at the end. So,
oh boy. Congrats on coming out.
Congrats. Happy Pride. Welcome to the tent. It's June.
Yeah. And I agree. As long as you get that flag up, doesn't matter if it's wrinkled or crooked or what have you. Just get it up there.
Yeah, just get it up there, we said on Pride, unironically.
I say that all the time.
Well, great. Is that it?
Yeah.
Usually it feels like an abrupt start, but today it feels like an abrupt ending, Kyle.
Oh, do you have more to say about gay marriage, Mike? What's in your heart song today? Everyone
should do it at least twice. That's what I think.
I want to thank everyone who's gay married. You up to 3.2% of you that are gay married.
Thanks to Obergefell.
Yeah.
I think he was the good guy. Yeah, fuck Hodges.
I don't forget which one is which. And thank you to our super gap bridgers. Thank you to Locomotive, Kaylee Adams, Kit Oliver, Kobe Gordon, Squaggle, Pip, Andrew Bugby, William Bryant, John Crawley, Yo Stossel, Jonathan Montañez, Wadu, Forrest Nell, Patrick Martin, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Cummington, Just Jamie, Thomas B, Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your money. From the Chris Cacciatorian Studios, this has been Gayish. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you. See you next week.
See you next week. You know what, Kyle?
What?
I just decided.
What's that?
I'm going to move to Boston and I'm going to start an orgy party called the Boston Teabag Party.
I love that.